Hello, everyone, everywhere. This is Bob Thibodeau. Welcome to the On the Air training for today. I believe this is going to be video number 8. And today we are going to be talking to you and about knowing what you want. In order to get to the point where you are comfortable and making progress in your training program, you have to know what you want. Let me ask you this question. If you're traveling from point A to point B, how will you get there? I mean, let's assume that point A is in New York City and point B is in San Antonio, Texas. How will you drive there? Now, 99% of us will use a map or a GPS, pulling a map up on our smartphone or something similar in order to arrive at our destination. How will you get there? How will you get where you want to go with your podcast or your radio program? Or if you're starting a radio station, how will you get to that point where you have it in place, functioning, operating, and being a blessing to other people? How will you get there unless you have a map leading you down the path? Now, I'm not talking about a road map. But a blueprint of sorts, something that will guide you to where you want to be. So the obvious question is, where do you want to be? Where do you want to be in, say, 1 year? And you take that as the ultimate goal. Now break it down into steps. So that 6 months from now, where do you want to be? 3 months from now, where do you want to be? 1 month from now, where do you want to be? 2 weeks from now, where do you want to be? How about 3 days from now? How about tomorrow? How about today? What's your ultimate goal? If you want to be operating your own radio station in 1 year or in 6 months, whatever your goal is, what will it take for you to get there? If you want to have your own podcast and be interviewing interesting guests, when do you want to do that? You're probably not going to get the big names on your podcast program until you have some episodes already under your belt. All right. You need to be comfortable behind the microphone. You need to be comfortable asking questions. So be realistic. It may be 1 year before you get some really good guests that everyone recognizes their names. It may be a whole year of doing podcasts, say 2 a week. That'd be 100 podcasts that you've already got experience with before you can get some people on your program that everybody recognizes their names. I mean, that's okay. Accept it as a reality and accept that you have to be at episode 100 before the big names will even consider coming on your program. But now you have a goal. Break that goal down now into several challenging but acceptable steps. Make your 6-month goal something along the lines of interviewing someone who has already interviewed a big name celebrity in your niche. I mean, what this does, it allows you to talk to them off air and establish a connection and a relationship with them, and they'd be able to give you guidance to your ultimate goal. And you never know. I mean, maybe an introduction. They may have a relationship with the person that you really want to, your ultimate goal. They may have a relationship already and be able to give you an introduction or a recommendation. I mean, that might be enough to break through those doors and get the big name person on your program. Now, once you get one, you leverage that to get the second person. Now you have 2 big names to promote as being interviewed on your show. And soon there will be a third and a fourth. But let me come back to my original question. And it's one that you have to know the answer to. It's this question, you have to write the answer down. You must identify right now what is your ultimate goal for what it is you are about to do. Once you've written that down, that's the ultimate goal. Now identify 3 to 4 major steps that it will take And these steps will need to be accomplished. They need to be in place in order for that ultimate goal to happen. Now, once you have that, you have your ultimate goal, 3 or 4 steps that it will take to get there. Under each one of those subpoints, write 2 or 3 little steps that you will need to accomplish in order to accomplish the major step. For example, let's say your ultimate goal is interviewing Oprah on your podcast. Okay, now what will it take for you to do that? First, you have to have a podcast. That's a given. But let's skip ahead to just under interviewing Oprah. Okay, you need to interview someone who knows Oprah. So you must identify several people who know her. Now, you can do that through research on her website, on her television program. The credits, who's the producer and things like that. Now you can start researching that person to find out how to contact them. What does each of these people represent when compared to your niche? If your niche was, let's just say, interviewing fiction authors, well, you need to find out which of those people are authors. Then break it down into which are fictional authors. Then what it will take for you to get them on your podcast. You might be able to scratch 1 or 2 off your list for whatever reason. So then you're left with, let's say, 2. What will it take for you to get 1 or both of these people on your podcast? How can you contact them? Is there an event near you where one of them will be, maybe a book signing? If so, drive the 1 or 2 hours if you have to get to where they are at. Buy their book, stand in line, and as they're signing the book, tell them your elevator speech for your podcast, and that you would like to know how you can have an opportunity to interview them on your podcast about their book. It has to be about them, not you. And you'll be surprised at the number of people who will accept your offer because they know that it is how they can promote their book. Now, once you go through the steps of getting that person booked, do your homework, go to their website, find other podcasts that they've been interviewed on, listen to them, do a good job of researching their interests, not just their book, but their interests as well. And during your interview, discuss the book. And there will usually be several questions that they'll submit ahead of time for you to discuss. But rephrase those questions into your own words. Use them in normal conversation. It sounds so much better than you just reading the questions they provided. And remember, I told you it would take a lot of practice to get to the point of interviewing these big names, right? Now, after your interview, talk with the author some more, not more than but maybe 5 minutes. They may have another interview lined up, so you don't want to take a lot of their time. But just ask them how they were able to be interviewed on Oprah's show. You may find the key to getting into the inner circle of her advisors. Once you have a name, email or phone, try and reach out to this person. Well, I'm getting way ahead of myself in the training program. The point I'm trying to make right now is you need to identify and you need to know where your ultimate goal is going to be. You need to know what you want as your ultimate goal. Use that. Use that as your guide. All right? And when you use that as your guide, you'll be able to identify several major steps, what you need to do in order to achieve your ultimate goal. And when you achieve that, then you know where you want to be. And that's your blueprint as a guide from where you are now to where you want to be. This is Bob Thibodeau with the On the Air training program for today. Leave a comment. Don't forget, go and subscribe to the podcast if you haven't done so already. If you have any questions, please email me at bob@ontheairradio.com. Till next time, this is Bob Thibodeau reminding you to be blessed in all that you're doing.